Welcome to the Modern Couples podcast, Love, Purpose, Growth. I am Marcella, relationship coach, founder of Modern Couples, and fitness and biohacking enthusiast. My TEDx talk and Modern Couples Summit has inspired thousands of people to invest into their relationship skills. Over the past years, I worked with entrepreneurs, ambitious leaders, power couples, and high performers to 10x their love. In this podcast, each episode brings you pioneering strategies and raw conversations to support you navigate the complexities of future fit relating. If you're ready to 10x your love life, let's connect. Because when your relationship thrives, your whole life expands. Links to my current offers are in the show notes. Now, listen up, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Let's dive into today's episode. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest. It's Phil Arsenault. Hi, Phil. Good to have you here.
Hello. It's me. Dankeschön.
Dankeschön. Yes. I was actually thinking, if we do the interview in German, but I think English comes more fluent. However, you also do speak a little bit German, right?
Ich kann verstehen fühlen, aber ich kann nicht immer sagen, was ich sagen will. English is better.
Yeah, it gets super funny though to talk to you in all the different languages. So let me introduce you briefly. So I got to meet Phil as a memory coach and accelerated language teacher. Really, I heard there is this person out there that teaches you a foreign language. For me, it was Portuguese that I really wanted to learn. And he teaches you this foreign language to a basic conversational level, speaking like a local in 15 hours, or you can book the 4-week program, right? So I thought, okay, I really want to get my language skill here in Portugal straight, because language is like one of the most essential ways of how we relate. And I really want to relate to my neighbors and to the people around me as I am, moving to a foreign country. So, but yeah, coming back to more of your background, you are teaching several languages, so Portuguese just being one of them. And you're helping people to really master their brains so that they can easily speak like a local. But also you customize your teachings to other professions. I know you also supported a musician to use brain hacking, so the art of optimizing how you learn, a musician in his endeavors. So let's say
an orchestra, the chief of an orchestra, and he needed to memorize everybody's music from all the different instruments. There's 55 different musicians there. So we were able to, I told, look, I have no idea how music works, but I know how your brain works. So like we'll have to work together so that you need to tell me like what you need to learn. And we just had to figure out how to reformat the information and then store it in the right places. And then he was there with, the big crowd and everybody, and he nailed it. He knew everybody what they were supposed to do, and he was feeling very, very confident, very comfortable. And at the end, he was very happy with his unlocked and unleashed memory.
So that's the crazy thing about you. You understand the power of the brain so well. So this art is called brain hacking. Not many, like I want to use that phrase or that term a bit more often because it might cause some, what is that, brain hacking? But we will get to that in a moment. And yeah, I heard you're on a mission to teach 30 languages by 2050, right? So quite ambitious.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I've taught 7 languages to over 2,000 students. Yeah. And so it's a 15-hour super accelerated course. What we did in 4 weeks, it was I always add an extra 5 hours for one-on-one because we do a lot of side missions and we get distracted, and then I need to figure out more about how your brain ticks and how you learn. So it's a 15-hour course that's done in the 20 hours spread out over the 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So maybe let's explore. We will get to brain hacking and what it has to do with relationships. But can you briefly explain what do you do when what is there to learn about the brain? What is brain hacking? And maybe also your personal story. How did you get into it?
See, well, brain hacking is everything. For me, it's been like the green ring of the Green Lantern. So it's a regular human being who puts on this very powerful object, and it allows him to become superhero. So all my life, I felt like I've had this secret advantage over everybody, over in any job, in any relationship, in any friendship, in any opportunity. I always knew I had an advantage because of all the memory hacking stuff that I had learned. So I grew up in Montreal, Canada. So it's a French-speaking province. So I went to French school all my life, and I used to struggle a lot on most of the exams. Math, I used to have no problems with. I was always very good at math. But conjugations, verbs, on all the French stuff, and just learning the dates for history, and I really couldn't focus my brain and study. I was getting distracted. I didn't want to. It wasn't working. It was frustrating. It was made me feel stupid. It was just so many things blocking me from studying more and getting better grades. But I knew in my heart that I wanted to be a cop. And so it's a very, very difficult program to get into because so many people want to get into that line of work. So you need to be excelling in your grades, at least 75% average, just to be considered. So you need to really be excellent to get into that line of work. So I had to make a decision, and it was either change my dream or figure out a way to study better. So I spent way more time than I could have spent studying, learning how not to study. So I was investing all my time, and I went down this rabbit hole on Google and on the internet of how to not study, how to learn faster, how to memorize. And you go down this rabbit hole. There's so many books, and there's there's documents, there's books, there's techniques, there's tricks, there's articles, there's studies, and they go back literally thousands of years. You go back to like 2,000-3,000 years ago in ancient Greece, and there's the memory treatises, and like they just all these techniques that go all the way up until today, where there are literally memory championships all around the world, where people get together, sit down, and memorize stuff. It's the most boring sport to watch, but it's really, really interesting once you understand what's going on in their brains. So I started using all these techniques, these tricks, and I was using them on my studying, and immediately my grades went up. I was able to in even less studying time, I was able to get much more information in my head. And when I find something really cool, I need to share it with everybody. I've always been like that. You find a new restaurant or a new place, an activity, I got to come back with all my friends. So I started telling everybody, guys, you got to come with me. I'm going to show you how to cheat on all the exams. And everybody was all excited. Oh, we're going to cheat on the exams. Let's do it. We're rebels. So I'm like, all right, we're going to take the information. We're going to store it in the brain in a way that when you are in front of your paper, you can close your eyes and you can recall all of the information. I said, Phil, that's studying. I'm like, no. This has nothing to do with studying. We're hacking our brains. We're changing the information. We're storing it, and we can just easily access it. Like, that's still studying. So I had to really convince them to try this techniques. And all of a sudden, their grades are getting, better and better. My grades are getting better and better. The teachers thought that we were cheating. We thought that we were cheating. And realized that's when I first realized that the education system is a joke. Like if I at that age on my computer can find much better ways of learning than the people who are responsible for teaching us have ever showed me. Actually, nobody really ever teaches you how to learn, which is the most important skill set. What good is any of the stuff we learn in school if we can't remember it, if we don't know how to learn it? So yeah, basically just transforming the information, reformatting it, and actually if you scan the brain, you're using different parts of the brain. So I always give a very nice visual of going into a gym, like a hipster gym, and everybody's on TikTok and they're all doing their videos and everybody's lifting very heavy weights with their back. And everybody tells you, yeah, you need to lift weights with your back. That's the back muscle, is the lifting muscle. And everybody goes, oh, that's weird. I mean, I'm doing it, but it hurts. I'm injured all the time. I can't lift a lot of weight. But everybody's doing it, so it must be the right way to lift. So then somebody comes in like me and they say, have you tried lifting with your legs? So they're like, no, that's not true. Like that can't be the way to go. Or else they would have showed us in school. And I'm like, just try it. And then people lift with their legs. And like, oh my God, the legs were meant for lifting. And the muscles are far more developed, they're far stronger, and they're designed for heavy lifting. The back is not designed. So we're actually learning with part of the brain that's actually not designed for learning or for remembering at all, which is why we feel dumb, we feel frustrated, which is why people are failing exams. But when we use the hippocampus and we use different other methods, right, and different parts, we're able to actually, access the 156 billion gigs of storage capacity within our brains.
That is so
Magic.
impressive. Yeah. And I mean, I just finished my 4 week training, so I can really speak from my own experience of how it felt, the rewiring in the brain, and really seeing the differences of like, how did I used to learn a language and how am I learning a language now? And also, I was really thankful to learn a few of the brain hacking excursus on the side or tips on the side. And I see how all of a sudden I look different at some of the books over here and thinking about, okay, I'm not going to just read it. I will figure out a way how to really memorize, how to make a story around it, how to share it with people, how to use other parts of the brain to really have it deep in my brain. It's something, if you don't know what you don't know, you are not aware of what you are missing out.
Exactly.
It was a crazy experience.
But and the problem is most people would prefer the discomfort that they know than the possibility of awesomeness that they don't know, right? So as people stay in abusive relationships, they stay in depressing jobs until they literally kill themselves rather than trying something different. I get people all the time commenting on my stuff, like teachers or people who have learned languages, and they say, no, this guy is a fraud. It is physically impossible. It took me 15 years to learn this language. There's no way you can get anywhere. Maybe you can order a beer after 15 hours, but there's no way you can do anything more than that. And teachers and people, and it's just like, if that's your mindset, then that's what you're gonna experience. That's why I always invite teachers to come for free, so they can actually see what I'm doing, and they can actually use it. It's not my proprietary information. I mean, all my stories and my connections and everything, that's all me. But all the concepts, all the theory, all the methodology, it's all things that I've just taken from all the smartest minds of the world, and I want people to be using them so that everybody could be using these memory hacking and teaching with them, so people don't have to be, they don't have to suffer for 10, 15, 20 years to learn something that they could learn in 15 hours or 20 hours.
A short interruption to tell you the exciting news of the launch of our new signature program, Love 10X. Ooh, I cannot wait to share more about it. It's designed for ambitious individuals, high performers, entrepreneurs, leaders, purpose-driven singles who want to rewire their brain to 10x their love. You have mastered your business, your career, you are into personal development. But when it comes to love and relating, it just still feels like a risky investment where you don't know how to protect your energy. However, deep down, you feel it's time to find your life partner. It's time for that crack your heart wide open love. So, if you are ready for a conscious, deeply fulfilling approach to love, if you want to upgrade your relationship life, check the show notes and join Love 10X. Yeah. I'm really so excited about this skill coming into my life. So let's build the bridge to the way we relate, and maybe to make it a little bit personal as well. Like, looking back for you, I mean, you came from more the ambitious angle or even the lazy angle, right? Like, that was what brought you to brain hacking. And I feel for many people, ambitious or reaching goals is something, that ambition and reaching goals is something that can motivate to do something new, but eventually it might lead you to something else, to some might bring you closer to purpose, might bring you closer to other realizations, right? So I'm curious for you, what did you notice how brain hacking or, walking that path influenced the way you related with people, or how did it change your relationships over time, if it did?
100%. I think so. The school, so the goal was always to get better grades, to get my life, my career. So it was a big motivation, and the exams were what were blocking me. And I didn't really want to. I always say that I'm lazy. People don't believe me because I work very hard, but I work very hard to not work, if that makes sense. Like I will do 10 times more work to figure out a solution to something that so that I don't have to work on it later on. But yeah, all my life I've always, worked very hard to be able to be more efficient. So maybe I'm not lazy, I'm efficient. But so I didn't want to actually like set brain training time where I would train my brain, which I help people to actually set some time and like almost like going to the gym, but the brain gym. So they have the time, they have exercises, they have things that they do, and they get their brain actually to evolve. I couldn't find that time. So what I did was I was working in the restaurants, and I decided to use the restaurants as my gym. So I started to memorize people's names, memorize their orders, memorize what they like, what they don't like, and everything that I could about people, right? And then when people start coming back once a month, once a week, once a year, and then they immediately remember you. Like, oh, you're the waiter who remembered my name. Yeah, or I know how you like your bread, I know how you like this. Like everything about the person, I'm able to, and again, this is over time. When I first started, I would take a table of two and I would forget the name, or I'd forget the order. And then it was by making those mistakes and by being okay with it and by telling people, I'm really sorry to ask you 8 times for your name. I'm really sorry that there's going to be a 30-minute delay on your meal because I'm trying to improve and unlock my memory so I can do better in school. So I didn't write it down and I made a mistake and I'm so sorry. And by being fully vulnerable, by being fully honest, transparent, and telling them, nobody ever got angry at me. So it allowed me to have this safe environment for me to be myself, be authentic, be genuine, try to be excellent, but while making plenty of mistakes. And it didn't matter if I asked them 8 times for their name. They were happy that I was putting effort in. So it was a really interesting thing that they really value your effort as more than your results. And over time, I think I would say like a 6-month period, right? It got very, 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 very good. So I got to the point where I was eventually able to take the order of a table of 20, and I would often have 20, 30, sometimes even 40 clients in a night. And I was able to memorize eventually all their names and then take all the drink orders and then go around and take the food orders. And it made me feel like a superhero. And everybody was super surprised. And this one moment that really made me laugh, a guy came for a Christmas party, and then the next year he came back with his company. And he's like this big Quebecer guy. And he's like, oh, this is the guy. He remembers all of our names and all the orders. This guy is crazy, guys. Hey, what's my name? What's my name? And I'm like, oh, Roger, welcome back. And he's, still, and he just walked away, like, mumbling. He was so surprised. And then the owner of the restaurant was like, Phil, how the hell do you do that? And I was like, to be honest with you, I just guessed his name. He's like this big Quebecer guy. I'm like, Roger, Robert. I just guessed. But to this day, there is a thought. What if it was more than a guess? What if it was intuition? I don't think so. I think it was a guess. But I mean, I could have guessed a lot of other things. So who knows, really? So it really makes a huge difference in people's lives. They feel like they're important to you when you remember how they like their food, how they like their bread, when they like their bread, how what their name is, what their daughter's name is, right? So the more you can learn about somebody, the more connected you are to these people. And I think it needs to come from a genuine place, because you need to make them important in your head in order for these tricks to work. So you have to make them really important in your head, and you have to use these tricks, and then together it makes for information that stays in your file. And I mean, you can remember people's birthdays, their favorite colors, their gift ideas for Christmas, even though they mentioned it 12 months ago or a year ago or 5 months ago, whatever. So it allowed me to really deepen my interpersonal skills and have a lot more authentic, deep, relationships with people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's just your overall surroundings. It's not focusing just on the family, just on my lover, just on my work colleagues that are worthy my time because we work every day. It's like it radiated into your full presence of being, or all the interactions, because all of a sudden this also commonly accepted belief of like, we cannot remember names. You just switched that paradigm, and you were the one who actually remembered names, right? And all of a
Absolutely.
sudden I feel, as you're
See?
the person on the other side, I feel valued, I feel seen. And we all know the reason why we go repetitively to a restaurant is because we feel welcome and we feel comfortable there, and the food is good. But it does matter because we like the relationships or the interactions there. Yeah.
Exactly. I just went to this festival this weekend, and I had gone last year. It was many festivals. Now it's my Wyoming, and there was this girl that I met last year. Her name is Kim, and we had some nice conversations. It was really nice. She works like with NASA and in the space industry, so it was really really interesting conversations. And I thought, I mean, this girl, she can do everything. She's Kim Possible, right? Nothing is impossible for Kim Possible because she can do all these things. And then this year when I met her, I remembered her name, and at some point we were talking, and I said, "How did your trip go?" And she's like, "What trip?" And I said, I don't know, but there was a big trip, there was a big thing that you were gonna do like right after." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I went to the UN to give a speech in Switzerland." And I'm like, yeah, that would, I didn't remember what it was, but like that would be considered a big thing. Yeah, like it was right after the festival. It was that. And then she was like, oh yeah, well, I mean, I've had a lot of big things happen during the year, but yeah, really interesting memory you have. And I was like, I mean, you can't always lock in all the details, but it showed her that I was listening a year ago, and it didn't actually require much effort because I stored it in a very efficient way. So there was not really much effort required. I just stored it. It's like if you have a giant warehouse and you just put things there. It doesn't require much effort. But when you need something, you can get it.
That's the thing, like the way you store such information. I mean, you just shared Kim Possible, but usually there is like a story around it, right? Like when you remember something, there's a story around it. And as we were just sharing and talking about, using this trick, my inner response was like, oh yeah, it's if we use tricks and strategies and all these mechanisms in the business world so often, right? Like if I do this, the other person will do that, if da 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 da. But actually, it feels like a trick because it's new to us to work with such strategies. But the idea of using storytelling, it's actually quite ancient, because just if we look at our names usually have a story and a reason why we have those names. Like in ancient times, right? Here we are again. We had some technical difficulty in our recording, so we are picking it off where we left it, which was the story about names and how we store them in our mind. And I wanted to share. You were saying that's a trick to remember things with stories, when actually I had this moment some weeks ago when I was entering a new name in my phone, and I noticed how not just me but also other people, when they get my contact, they don't ask me for my family name anymore, right? They ask me for they know my name, okay, Marcella. Maybe they ask me how to write it, but then they put down the number, and then usually they save it with something that they remember, which would be the place where they met me, or the event that they met me, or they might write Marcella curls, whatever, and in that regards, like we are already using that method to give a little bit of storytelling, but you have found a way, or you are reminding people to actually build more stories around the things that they learn. So, and in that way, I mean, in ancient times, our family name used to store a lot more of those informations. It used to be our profession, or it used to include informations about who are our parents, or there were lots of information stored in the names in a way of like making stories shorter, right? Condensed to a name. So I feel like there is a repetitive pattern, or yin and yang pendulum where we are going.
And actually, funny enough, there's even this concept amongst the memory hackers of the Baker paradox. Whereas if I told you this is my friend, let's say his name is Mr. Baker, and you're very likely to forget his name. But if I tell you this is my friend, he is a baker. After 1 year, 2 years, I talk about the friend, you're gonna remember, oh yeah, the baker. So
He's a
he's a
baker.
baker. So the name baker has no meaning to us. It has no significance. But the profession of being a baker, right? You could imagine all the senses, the smell, the funny, the funny hat, the covered in flour, and all the goodies. You can taste them. So it connects with all these. So absolutely, yeah, it's a great trick.
So see where, yeah, and I'm trying to do that more often in my day to day now to come up with stories. Just yesterday evening, I went to a community circle. It was for regenerative businesses. And as we were doing the sharing circle of names and what brought you here, I really tried, to instantly come up with stories around the names, and I could feel how, oh wow, it's exciting, it's fun. I'm getting on that challenge, but also it takes a little bit to get there. Like, okay, what do I associate with certain names? So, but not getting too deep into the brain hacking per se. Let's talk a little bit about the different stages of relationships or relating and how brain hacking could help you. So let's say, for example, I'm in the dating phase, so starting a new relationship. How would brain hacking actually help me in that stage?
Mhm. I think one of the most important things that people are looking for is to be seen and to be heard, to be valued, to be important. So
Mhm.
when you are remembering things about somebody, about conversations, about preferences, about things like that, it really shows that you care. It shows that that you're seeing them, that you're hearing them, that you're attentive. And I think that's one of the most important things in any relationship, whether it be romantic or professional. And so, I mean, some people are just very gifted at this. Some people just naturally, there's a small percentage of people that are very naturally gifted and that they can just remember everything and all the important stuff and they care and they're putting attention and it's working. But I think for most of us, it doesn't come naturally, especially especially with people who are constantly being distracted. People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and people are getting more and more distracted. So I think it's when we start storing information in this way, everybody now has access to it. And the only real like there's only really two important components is knowing what to do and then actually doing it. Because people always tell me that, oh, I'm a robot just because I can memorize 20 different phone numbers and date of births and stuff in a couple like 5-10 minutes. Uh, I can remember everybody's names and stuff like that. I still, to this day, if I don't set the intention of I'm going to remember this information, I'm going to remember this name, I forget almost instantaneously, right? Because I have a very, very normal, average, standing memory. I need to make this commitment. So every time you remember something
Mm.
about somebody, it tells them that you've made that commitment. You've told yourself and you've decided that they're important and you wanna remember that they hate bananas. So you're never gonna come with a surprise banana birthday cake or surprise them with a banana dessert. You're gonna remember that, oh, they don't like bananas. So you can imagine them getting into a fight with monkeys. Every time they go to the zoo, they always get into a fight with monkeys, and it always leaves them all like bruised and beat up. So then you can understand, oh yeah, they must have like post-traumatic banana disorder, PTPD. So so instead of just thinking, oh, they don't like bananas, you have this whole story, like very memorable, of you going to the zoo with them getting into a fight, and then that's why they hate bananas, and then they were all the monkeys were throwing bananas at them, and it just like covered in bananas. So it also adds some sympathy and some empathy, and you're like, oh, I understand why you don't like bananas anymore. And same thing with favorite color. I mean, that's a really important thing to know is somebody's favorite color, because if you have different choices, you go with the favorite color. It's the foolproof plan. So for example,
Mhm.
Ina's favorite color is blue, and so imagine her uh, I just imagine her going to a blues club for her birthdays, for her celebrations, because she's a die-hard blues fan. And when she was growing up, her favorite TV show was Blues Clues, right? And if and you can make different stories about blue balls.
but I'm not going to get into details right now. So you can really like add to the whole story to really connect blue with this person, right? They're like the blue sky, and skies are blue. So you just really kind of play around so that you can remember, their dislikes. You can remember their likes. And there's a kind of a joke amongst brain hackers or brain coaches is the best. I'll give this for you for free for you and your viewers. There's a foolproof plan to never ever forget the birthday of your loved one. This works like especially like if you've been married for a long, you plan on being married for a lifetime and long-term relationship. You want to really get that birthday in for life. There's one simple trick. You forget it once. You forget it, then but then the brain wants to remember the next time. But yeah, but you remember like with your birthday, the 12th of January, and there was the whole story of the goddess of the sea and the sky, and when they discovered, right, Rio de Janeiro, and then they throw the dozen eggs inside of the Rio de Janeiro. That means the river of January and the 12 eggs. So your birthday actually will be in my head probably forever because it's been encoded in the right way.
Yeah. Encoded in the right way. And I mean, we haven't spoken about it, but like the more emotion you bring to it, and also the more explicit sometimes, or the more emotion, scariness, all these factors is in there, the more it sticks,
absolutely.
Right? Which I feel, and you say that like share those stories with your people around you, right? And in a way, I mean, I hear your stories, it makes me laugh. That again is a relationship building already when you share those stories, those crazy stories with other people.
Exactly.
But you mentioned to me how you impressed Ina in the beginning with a memory hack. So this is like the dating one-on-one impressive brain hacking skill.
Well, I normally do this more for business. I mean, it's a great way when you meet somebody at a networking event or something, and they're like, "Hey, like I want to learn, a language from you," and then it's like, "Oh yeah, so do you have a business card?" "No, I don't. I don't like business cards. I'm just gonna memorize your phone number, and I'll send you a message like later during the week when I have some time." And so when I met Ina at the market, I memorized her phone number, and it apparently made a nice effect. So it shows attention, right? It shows that you're able to focus, you're able to put attention, and it's something different. And also, when a birthday comes up or Christmas comes up and something came up like 6 months ago or something, it's nice to be able to access that information.
Yes, very impressive, very good, and
and for the phone numbers, I mean, a lot of people are very intimidated by what I do with the phone numbers, the tricks, the stories, the associations, the creativity, all that stuff. It's all learned stuff for me. It didn't come naturally to me, and I've helped people who, many people who thought there's no way that I could do that. And it literally can work with anybody because creativity is not something that you have. Creativity is something that you do, right? You do creativity, and as you do it, that's how you get it, right? Of course, some people are naturally gifted, and that's good for them, but everybody could access it. It's not like, that some people are not, maybe, I mean, coordination is a little bit trickier, but you can still develop it. But this stuff is literally anybody can do it. So with the stories, the numbers, the names, any aspect, and I've taught the most unlikely candidates, people in their late 80s who never went to school or who always had problems and used to be made fun of because of the memory and no creativity and this, that, never made a story in their life. They all, with a little bit of time, a little bit of attention, they all end up doing it. So it's literally for anybody, no matter how lost and hopeless you think that you are, and how intimidated you are by these things. If you simply start doing it and with an encouraging environment and you kind of build it up, anybody can completely unlock their minds and all the opportunities and joys and benefits that come with it.
Unlock the mind. Yeah, let's really like, I want that message like out there, that this is not a method or a trick, or like, while we might think these are tricks that we use, it feels like an unlocking of the mind, a liberation to let's say live life more colorfully, because in a way that like we as humans, I mean, I think the most, after the need of feeling safe and feeling belonging, like what is there since forever? It's storytelling, right? And to bring back that skill of instantaneous storytelling with yourself even, and then also maybe share it to others. It brings joy, it brings creativity, it trains your brain. And in a way, even I caught myself thinking of like, oh, I'm too old to learn a new language, right? And like the experience with you completely like crushed that belief in the sense, and made me really realize how much more potential there is now that I'm actually engaging the brain, right? And now it's like, let's see all the things that I'm going to learn still.
Absolutely. But also, it also about unlocking the mind, it also makes you think about how limitless the brain is in every way. Because remember in the beginning, you had a limiting false belief, and you said that I am not good with accents. I cannot do accents. So I speak English with a very heavy German accent, you said, and your Portuguese is going to have a German accent, and you cannot do it. Remember that? But as we started to change that programming of the brain and we started to do things in a specific way, you were very, very, very quickly able to actually be great with accents and speak with a very nice Portuguese accent. And it's simply about zooming in, about having the attention, about having the mindset. The brain is a computer, and it's almost like a chat GPT, artificial intelligence. You know, you put the right prompts. You put the right prompts and you do the right sequence, and you can unlock pretty much anything from your mind, any fear, any doubt, any limitation, and you can really, really achieve the impossible. And look at you now. I mean, you're walking proof. In a couple of weeks, I mean, your pronunciation is great. You're even singing in Portuguese, right? Beautifully, by the way. I'm still waiting to see the final cut of the whole song put together, right? Maybe you're walking on the beach with a sunset or something, and like a little music video also would be nice.
Yeah. But about that, it was also in one of the first classes where you talked about the different energies in the languages and the different archetypes. And that was really like, that was, I think, the first moment when I thought about, wait, hold on a moment. Like this has to do with relationship coaching and actually what I do out there. Let me see. Yeah, I have it right here, right? Like I also work with the archetypes, so to say. This is like king, warrior, magician, lover, right? I also work with the female version of that in my breathwork sessions, exploring the different archetypes in oneself, because so to say, we are more than just one being. In different situations, we bring out different archetypes, and can you explain a little bit the theory behind archetypes and language? What is there, the overlay?
I see it kind of like a shortcut, because so when we're kids, we tend to be able to flow very freely between all of the different facets of our personality and the archetypes, and you know, sometimes we're more adventurous, curious, intellectual, playful, right? We're kind of serious, so we're kind of going all around. And then as we start to grow, the ego starts to develop, and we start to fall into a character. And now I am Phil, and this is how I am. And you hear people say things all the time like, "Hey, that's not you. Like that's not you. That's this person." Or you're not being yourself. Or oh, I couldn't do that. I'm not outgoing. Or I'm not curious like that. I'm not playful like that. I'm not funny. I'm not or I'm too shy. We put ourselves in boxes, and yes, that could be in the general theme, maybe that's the facet of your personality or the archetype that's predominant, but we're so much more than that, right? So in different moments, we are able to express things differently and see things differently, but we get so locked up in the ego and then in the self and in this character that we've built up for ourselves. And yeah, we can get through that, and we can transcend that in many different ways, with therapy, with coaching, with psychedelics, with meditation, with plenty of different things, near-death experiences. But language learning is a fun, playful shortcut. I think that every language has their own frequency, their own energy. And for example, English is business. It's straight to the point. Le français, c'est l'amour, c'est la romance. The French is love and romance. El español es pasión, es fuego. It's fire, it's passion, right? And so, I mean, I think that my first connection with this was when I was growing up in the French school, and I had Mrs. Orr in the English class, and I had this French teacher. I don't remember what her name was, and I remember the French teacher was saying, you know, when you are writing, you need to put some meat on the bones, and you know, you make it nice. You take me on a journey, you know. You put some metaphors here. You do some contraries over here. Hot and cold, high and low, and you play around with it. You know. I mean, she was probably a lot less sensual, but you know, it's weird how memories work. And then you have Mrs. Orr in English class when I was doing that same writing style.
I hope you are fully enjoying this episode. I get asked often why to invest in your relationship skills. And I want to share with you 12 scientifically proven benefits of being in a modern couples relationship. Now, did you know that modern couples, hence couples who are in love, do the work that is needed to fully thrive stronger together, are measurably happier, live longer, make more money, are physically healthier, have more sex, have improved mental health, recover faster from illness, cope better with life's problems, travel more, have fewer addictions, and inspire others to greatness. Last but not least, modern couples, those that support each other and sculpture each other into the greatest version of themselves, ultimately make a bigger impact in their family system, in their community, in their businesses, in the way they show up in life. Imagine this was the normal way of how couples around you and within you radiate. If you are an ambitious human aiming for the 12 and more benefits, I'm here to support you to rewire your brain for the 10x kind of love. All information are in the show notes. Now, let's continue the episode. So we had another technical difficulty, yes.
Mexico Flexico. It teaches you how to be zen and how to have patience living here sometimes in the wild, wild west. Especially when you're paying for 1 gig per second fiber optic Wi-Fi. But Buddhismo. So where was I with the different frequencies in the languages? And my first experience with this was when I was in school, and I remember that the French teacher was telling me, you know, Philippe, you have to add some meat on the bones, and you know, you take the reader on an adventure, and you add some metaphors and some comparisons and some opposites, just to keep things spicy, you know, like some hot and some cold, some ups and some downs, and you take on an adventure, you know, have some fun with it, be playful. And I was like, yes. I mean, she probably was a lot less sensual back then, but I mean, that's, you know, how memories work, strangely. And then I remember Mrs. Orr, the English teacher, I had at some point took me aside and said, Phil, on your essay, that this whole paragraph could be replaced by one sentence. Stop wasting everybody's time. And I said, well, what about the meat on the bones? She was like, no meat on the bones. I mean, she probably sounded a lot less like a Nazi, but but again, memories, you know. So I developed two different styles of writing and therefore of being. And when I was speaking and writing in French, I was slightly different. I was more playful, a little bit more romantic, a little bit more, you know, artistic and poetic. And in English, it was a lot more directly to the point. So by learning new languages, it's almost like a shortcut. When I learned Spanish, I noticed like my dancing got a lot better. I was connecting a lot more with my inner, you know, my inner cheesiness, my inner romantic, my inner, especially with all the songs and the poetry and all that stuff that's in Spanish that really hits much different than when you translate it. So I was able to connect a lot more with my romantic side and my passionate side. And so every time you learn a new language, it allows you to actually access a different facet of your personality, a different flavor. And once you've experienced it and you've mapped it and you've tasted it and you've experienced it enough, you can then take it with you, and you just add to the spectrum of your personality, of your energies, and you can just be more complete depending on what the moment calls for, depending on what comes out. You're going to be able to have more tools and more possibilities. So it gives more flavors to life.
And this is where I feel like, yeah, different languages have different energies, and in that sense, they can connect you with a different archetype in yourself. And just to give that as an additional benefit to learning a new language or to opening up to that world. And I think some people, yeah, know that or experience that themselves, and even people watching here will see me speaking German in one interview and see another energy speaking English in another one. But yes, when I sing in Portuguese, it's a whole different energy.
100%. I mean,
I love
when
that.
I go back to Canada and I'm speaking with friends from my childhood and I'm speaking to them in different languages, like in their own language, it really, brings back the Nelson Mandela's statement of when you speak to somebody in your language, it goes to their head, but when you speak to somebody in their language, it goes to their heart. So to have a completely different perception of people who I thought I had them mapped out, I thought I knew them, and when you speak to them in different languages, you get to see them in different light and see them in a different way, and they get to express things differently. And it was like somebody sent me this clip from Sofia Vergara, where she's getting upset and she's like, "You don't even know how smart I am in Spanish," or something to that effect. And it really is true. So when you're able to speak to somebody in different languages, you really get to see them from different angles and be more complete with them. So it's really cool.
So on that point, when you are in a relationship and you come from different social backgrounds or, different countries, to honor that potentially in their native language, there's more to say to it, right? And that a lot of problems or misunderstandings sometimes come also from the fact that, we think we have a shared language. We think when you say dog, we both have the same image in our mind, but we don't. A lot of misunderstandings come from actually the somatics. Is that no, not somatics? What is that? From the different connotations or different concept that we have when it comes to words. And I really maybe that to close the chapter on brain hacking and language. But at one point I asked you in our coachings, you never say no, this is wrong, or you never say this is wrong, it has to be that, or in that way you are more vague when I say something, and it's, let's say, not what would be in the grammar book. And I asked you why do you do that? I know there's like at least two explanations for it, but one was on the shared language, and I found that so profound for really, even if we speak the same language, having that mindset towards, well, how come there is no right or wrong thinking in your concept of teaching language?
So, first of all, I'm not a grammar teacher, right? So I don't really know the grammar of English. So a lot of time I'm speaking with somebody like a German person, for example, who's speaking English, and the word order is in a way that I would never say it that way. So my first thought is, oh, it was wrong, and then I say, wait, is it wrong, or is it just that I wouldn't say it that way, right? Who knows? Because sometimes I don't know exactly what the real thing is, and most people don't know their own native language perfectly in that sense of being able to teach it in school and know all the grammar rules. Very few people do. So first of all, who am I to say it's right if it's right or wrong? It's just maybe I wouldn't say it that way. So that's the first thing. And 99% of people you meet are going to be in the same situation as that. Second of all, most of the things that I teach, I've always been very, very curious and passionate about the brain in every way. So, reading and researching NLP, psychology, personal development, and all the different aspects of the mind and possibility. And when you get into a flow state and you start, doing things in alignment, you're able to connect with all that information, and you just do things in the optimal way without really knowing exactly why. But then you have to really kind of think about it and figure out, well, why did I do it that way? And it kind of connects back to there's a really nice principle in psychology. When you're having a discussion with somebody or a debate, there's a big difference between yes, but, versus saying yes and. So yes, but is implying that yes, I understand what you're saying, but it's not true, or but there's something going. So you're closing them down, you're pushing them down. But yes, and you're no longer destructive, now you're constructive. So now you're building on top of. So if you shut somebody down, right, the energy gets shut down, the emotions close up, the flow state starts to dissipate, the prefrontal cortex starts to activate and start to think, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And you just start going into a completely opposite direction of what is conducive to learning and growing and improving and flowing. So there's never really a wrong answer. Everything is a stepping stone towards improving and towards going. So even when the answer is completely wrong, it's close. It's close. We're on the right direction. Let's try this a little bit differently. And then, especially when it's getting actually closer, then it's great. Then it's awesome. It's correct because I understood you. And then now let's polish it. So now we can polish it, and then we can make some small micro adjustments, and we can improve it. But so the goal of communication is to be understood. So even if all the things are, all the words are kind of mixed up and the pronunciation is not, and it's completely opposite to how I would say it, but I understood exactly what you meant somehow, then as far as communication is concerned, you said it properly because the message was received. And then for those who have this desire to want to polish it, who want to improve it, like a lot of us do, then we can work with that. But if the answer is like, oh, well, no, you said it wrong, then your brain thinks the whole thing is wrong, this all sucks, I want to give up, and the monkey brain starts coming in. So it has to always be in a constructive and positive direction and moving towards, and also I always see with people their individual preferences, their desires, because like people like you and I, we want to get to a near perfection, right? We want to get to the point where people are saying, wow, you must have been born in this country, or you must have some Portuguese or some German or some in your blood, because you're speaking so nicely, right? So for people like us, that's important. For other people, that they don't care in the slightest. They just want to be able to go on a date, and they just want to be able to order their food, and they just want to be able to just be understood, and so that's also okay. So depending on where you are, you can polish it, or you don't need to polish it. Maybe it's perfect as is.
Mhm.
So it's.
And in that sense, yes, there is a grammar. Yes, there is a right or wrong. However, to honor that language also changes through time, right? Like how often have we already at least in German language, updated the Duden or updated, what is right or wrong in that sense. And to remember then that how often am I in a situation where actually I'm just not wanting to understand the other person and, creating a drama where this is not said the right way, this is not the right way, or using that phrase gives me that idea of where they are coming from or what they are doing, versus actually tuning in and saying, we are here to connect, and what is the other person actually trying to say? Can I open up to that without, the right and wrong thinking, but really with the intention of, I would like to understand you, and I would like for us, to come together to create something together. And I found that so liberating in that sense of like, I can go out there, I can speak in a foreign language, but also in my mother tongue. And when there's a situation where I don't understand the other person, I can just tune in and say, hey, what is their energy? What are they trying to get? Maybe I can puzzle piece together where we are getting, and maybe I can ask more questions without them feeling whatever negative or shameful around not using the right word or the proper saying. And I felt that does make a difference in the way we relate in meetings on the street or in our relationships, being in a multicultural setting or not.
100%.
Yeah, found that
it's a great filter too for the people who you shouldn't be investing too much time in your life with, right? If they're not seeing the conversation as a two-way street, as a collaboration, and they're just being very closed, very judgmental, they're not helping you at all. If you say boost instead of bus and they don't understand you, right? So then maybe they're very closed-minded, maybe they're stubborn, maybe, you know, there could be a lot of different things. Maybe they're lazy. But for me, it's a clear indicator that I don't want to invest too much time in this relationship, right? In whatever way, if friendship or something, professional, whatever it is. But if they're not actually making an effort to understand you and to create the conversation with you and support you, and also, you know, setting your boundaries in the beginning of, you know, telling somebody, look, I'm practicing this language, I'm learning. I would appreciate if you don't correct me during, you know, this conversation. And as long as you understand the gist of what I'm saying, just the basic foundation, then I'm happy. At the end, I would love some feedback of mistakes and things that you've noticed, or some suggestions. And during the conversation, I would really appreciate if you spoke slowly. Now, you're setting your expectations, you're setting some boundaries, you're telling somebody how you want to be treated, and then if they completely ignore it, then you know that maybe they're not such sensitive people, they're not so connected, they don't really understand. So it's a nice, beautiful filter, and then you can grow and based on how the conversations are flowing, and you're gonna notice, like, I really enjoy practicing this language with this person, but I don't like to practice this language with that person. So what am I going to do? I'm going to spend more time practicing and speaking and conversing with this person because it's optimal for my learning. It's optimal for my enjoyment of life. So you can make your decisions. So it's important to note not everything is created equal. And it's not like when you set yourself up to have 1 hour of practice time per day, right? You could do more in 15 minutes than in 10 hours if it's done properly and have better results. So you got to set yourself up for success and understand how the brain works and how you work, and create your reality.
I like it. I like it. Thank you, Phil. So when I puzzle pieced our three recordings together, I think we are coming to an end, even though I know there's many more things I could talk to you about, or I would love to hear more about your story. But I think the internet is already failing us again. Thank you for listening to today's episode. You have built success in every other area of your life. But if love still feels like the missing piece, it's time to change that. Love 10x is for high achievers who are ready to create a relationship that matches their ambition, depth, and vision for life. Love 10x gives you the tools, mindset shifts, and strategies to attract and build a relationship that actually works without losing yourself in the process. If that resonates, check the show notes and join Love 10x today. Your future partner is out there. Let's make sure you're ready for them.